in Failure is the Mother of Success, you sing the making of the man. So what would you say made you who you are or who you were originally before any like recent changes?
Um, Rock and roll made me. It's actually not far from the truth. I was fear made me. I would say that fear made me the person I was. Fear of so many different things. Um, the list is just exhaustible. But and that fear of dealing with things made me kind of numb myself with alcohol and drugs and stuff like that, and behavioral patterns and loops and things like that that I just couldn't get out of. And it wasn't until I was sectioned, um, 2022, I think it was, um, that I got out and I just thought, you know what, things aren't going very well. I better make some big decisions if I want to stay here and I want to, be a, you know, have a reason to to continue doing this. And I decided that I was going to just start again. I was going to absolutely take myself away from everything, get rid of all of the negative elements from my life, people, places, situations, memories, everything, and just make a big move. And I moved deliberately into the very middle of nowhere. And I mean, there's nothing here but sheep and green. And start again, become a ghost for a year. And it was something that I thought, well, if I don't do this properly, like all of the years of my life, I'm never going to quite do it properly. I'm always going to have these boxes that I'm, scared to open, things that I haven't dealt with, things I haven't processed. And I came here to start the work. And about 18 months later, I find myself not fixed, but in a much better place.
Would you say you've still got fear, or have you worked on that then?
No, I would say I have no more fear.
Hmm.
I worked on all of the. I mean, fear is a broad concept, so it breaks down into tons of little things that how you're brought up, stuff that you still blaming your parents for, things that have affected you in your life that you're still dragging around like some kind of bag of goods. And I systematically went through every single one with a microscope, and I worked on all my fears, and that's from fear of spiders to fear of being a man, and everything in between, and went to work, and now I can honestly say that I don't actually fear anything because life makes sense now, and I realize there is nothing to fear in life as long as you approach life with love. There is no fear, and love kills fear. Actually, that's not true. Action kills fear. Fear is something that's built up in the imagination, and God, our imaginations are pretty impressive. We can build up things to fear and create monsters. But once you're doing something, the leaves, and the actual doing of the thing takes over, and then it's you, and you're there in the moment. And I realized that I need to get into that mindset of living in the moment at all times before I can even have a chance to do anything. So one of the first things I did when I started was read The Power of Now, a book recommended to me by the lovely Carol Hodge, that I've been recommending to everyone. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And it teaches you about living in the moment. And before you know why you should live in the moment, you've got to create the habit of living in the moment and replace the other old habit of living in the past and, you know, depressed about the past and anxious about the future, and get rid of all of those habits. And you only replacing habits, obviously. Living in the past and anxious about the future, that's when the ego comes in And that's when the comfort of the familiar comes in. And even if you're in an abusive relationship or you're in a place in your life that's just not serving you, you still know it. You're still familiar with the terrain. So you'll find that people will stay there rather than head into that really scary, great unknown where the magic lives. And I got really good with that. I got really good with being able to be in the moment, especially if any negative thoughts come in. And again, it's all about mastery of the mind, but you can't control your mind if it's, being led into the future and the past where you've got no control. You've got to operate within your circle of control at all times. The only thing you can do is what you can control. And yeah, a long-winded way of saying it's all about living in the now, but it's about putting habits in there that are brand new and kind of really unfamiliar.
I was going to ask about the power of now because you've mentioned it before. Have there been any other books that you've read apart from that one that have inspired you?
Well, I've been inspired by books. I've always read. I've always been into reading since I was a kid, but as I got older, I started picking up on people's energy and going like, how are you? You know what I mean? How are you you? And Buddhism would always come up, time and time again. So I had a friend of mine, really good friend of mine, Matt West, who used to be our sound man, who got me into a load of Buddhist literature. And I started with stuff like Deepak Chopra, which is, I don't know if anyone's read any Buddhism. Deepak Chopra is not a good place to go. But the Four Agreements, the Tao Te Ching, and just a lot of again with any reading any philosophy, it's about finding what works for you and not just going, well, I don't agree with that, so the whole thing's fucked. And Buddhism is very, very much like that because I I can't, nor do I want to, sit in front of a wall going Namo Haringe Kya for 20 minutes. It's never going to happen. But I realize that you can meditate whatever you're doing. I meditate when I'm playing music live because you are literally in the moment. When I'm writing music, when I'm walking. So Buddhism was a really good stronghold for me getting some idea of what the fuck's going on with life. And Stoicism, I got into Stoicism fairly recently, like a couple of years ago. And Stoicism is kind of like if Buddhism is up there, then Stoicism's down here, the kind of, the nuts and bolts of life. And between Buddhism and Stoicism, I really found my kind of shape kind of thing where I can take little bits and pieces of it. And again, I'm not trying to say that these are surefire ways of making the best of your life because there's still bits of Buddhism and Stoicism that don't really appeal to me or don't they've got no relation to me. But the basic teachings, what I learned is that it's not about them and it's not about that or it or he. It's about you. It's all about you and your intentions and how and your integrity. And once I realized that, then there was just a load of hard work, but I knew, you know, what direction to do the work.
Hmm.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. So do you think men are all conditioned to behave in a certain way? Do you think it was related to being a man or anything that made you who you were?
God, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, we're all dictated to and molded at a very early age. I mean, even before school's obviously the one that starts, molding you into becoming a kind of automaton that can be molded by the media. So, not thinking for yourself, believing that there are, you know, relationships and opportunities and a God and all of this crap, and stopping you from thinking. At school, they don't want to give you the education to question their authority. And so they don't. And that's why most people don't really do anything with their life. But before that, it's from your parents. If your parents aren't talking to you and engaging with you like a human being, which mine didn't. I mean, it's a generational thing. I think anyone who's my age, their parents weren't really affectionate and tactile and supportive and educational. But it all comes from that sort of grooming from a very early age that gets you into this system of habits that once you get to adulthood, it's fairly impossible to change. It seems impossible to change because it's not only your habits, it's society's habits. How the fuck am I going to be different than everyone else? That's terrifying. I mean, fear does rule people, and the greatest fear is the fear of the unknown. And when you think about the unknown is everything from, fear of change, fear of not fitting in, fear of believing things that the mass aren't believing. And from a very early age, I realized that I didn't fit in. So I kind of had a head start. I was a misfit from day one, really. But I think that's where it starts is when you're being groomed for adulthood by your parents and by school.
Yeah. So I've seen videos and posts about what you give out, you get back. And if you do good, then good comes back to you. If you do bad, then you'll get karma come back to you. And I think a lot of people could probably do with knowing that and probably don't know that. What do you think about that? Do you think the world would be a better place if everyone knew that what they put out, they'll get back?
I think the word karma has got a bit confused. Every term that human beings used gets distorted and confused and eventually means nothing to what it originally meant. But karma, apparently, from what I've read in Buddhist literature, and what's he called? This is Osho. One of the Buddhist writers that I got into when I first started was a guy called Osho, and he puts this brilliantly. He says that karma, roughly translated, means action, not like stuff that's going to come back on you. It's action. It's how pure your and how virtuous your action is. So I think it's not a case of doing good and good comes back because then that lends itself to, well, if I do just, charity work or I just glom onto that group there that are all saying, do this because it's the right thing to think. That's not going to come back on you probably at all. But if you put, a very virtuous stance on everything you say and do to the point where you're virtuous in your thoughts, then that's when the magic happens. That's when you start affecting things on a fucking molecular level. And I don't want to start going into molecular quantum theory here, but it's true. You affect things. Since I used to be a very, very negative person, and even when I was trying to be good, I was still putting negativity out there because I was allowing things in my life. I was allowing myself to behave, to say certain things, to write a lot of stuff in lyrics. I look back at some of my lyrics and it's fucking cringeville. I'm just like, God, you were so fucking angry and pissed off with nothing to be angry and pissed off about other than the fact that you're angry and pissed off. I was pissed off because I was pissed off. You know what I mean? Let's fucking talk about a never-ending fucking system of negativity there. So I started thinking, well, I'm gonna adhere to the Stoicism books, be impeccable on your word, on your deeds, on your thoughts, and it's it was like taking acid. It was fucking weird. All these fucking positive things started happening to the point where the negative stuff still happens. You don't want to wish for an easy life. You want to wish for the strength to deal with life, and life is about suffering. A big part of life is about suffering because you're growing. It's painful, but you don't have to grow, and it doesn't have to be painful. And you can numb it with alcohol and drugs and chocolate and whatever. But yeah, that's what I've found is that the karma thing isn't about, I do something good, so I'm waiting here, waiting for some money to arrive in my bank account, or you know, a pretty girl to appear. Is no, it's not. It's not that. It's about doing something good today for tomorrow. And when you adopt that mindset, it changes. It changes everything. It changes your view. More importantly, it changes your view on yourself. And I think that's where it all starts. You realize that the job is to love yourself. The work is how the fuck do I learn to love myself when I kind of hate myself? And that's it's a trouble with nihilists as they think that, hate is fundamental, but it's not. It's optional. You're in charge. You are the boss. And that's the fucking punchline when you get delve into this shit and realize, fucking hell, I was in charge all along. And the fun bit, apart from the relationship with yourself, is the essential bit. But the fun bit is all this other fucking shit starts happening. Your candle starts lighting other candles to the point where you weren't even looking, and the fucking room's bright as fuck because all the candles are lit. It's a probably it's an overused analogy, but it really does work. You can sit in the corner with your own candle and a finite amount of light, or you can just go around lighting everyone's candle, which doesn't affect yours at all. It just affects the overall thing.
Do you ever watch any YouTube videos on subjects like this? Because I think I've learned to love myself more in the past few years. When I was younger, I was probably, more insecure and stuff. I mean, I'm still shy, but, I've learned to, I've watched some videos and stuff. There's a lot of things that can help you on YouTube.
I'm a fucking addict to YouTube. I uh, I go to sleep every night with YouTube. I'm not sure what I used to do before YouTube. Probably read, but yeah, YouTube is my fucking education for the most part. And I like to go to sleep listening to philosophy, and so even when I'm drifting off to sleep, it's getting in there.
Hmm.
And even bad philosophy is really good. But yeah, I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, and it gives you a good sense of where you are by
Hmm.
watching other people's, there's people like Jordan Peterson that I used to like, and Richard Dawkins who I didn't used to like, and now it's completely flipped. The more I learn, the more I realize how confused Jordan Peterson is and how absolutely spot on Richard Dawkins is. So I think, watching stuff on YouTube is not just to put it in your brain because it's the right thing. Is to make you, to understand any subject, you've got to understand both parts of the argument. I like YouTube for that. And
Hmm.
also, I like slapped ham.
I don't know what's that term.
Slapped ham is just, there's these stupid paranormal videos. None of them are paranormal. But it's got this really funny guy that does it called Callan. I'm Callan. It's a slapped ham. And there's something really comforting about Callum and his shitty videos.
I might have
But I'm
to.
glad, but I'm glad you got. I'm glad we're talking about the same thing. I'm glad you got into loving yourself because from my generation and passed down from my mom's generation, it's seen as arrogance to
Hmm.
like yourself,
Yeah.
to love yourself, and the opposite is true. It's arrogance to think that you're not lovable.
Hmm.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. I do think there are probably a lot of us, who grow up. I think in today's society, everyone hates themselves. Like even, all the girls having surgery and everything, everyone wants to change themselves externally without loving themselves inside or, loving their body as it is and stuff like that.
Or having the choice to, if you don't love your body as it is, fix it. You
Hmm.
know, if you're well enough to breathe, you're well enough to fix things. What to a certain level. We don't want to. No one wants to be perfect, but you want to strive to perfection in whatever your situation is. But yeah, yeah, I agree. It's a terrible play. You know, the social media has obviously brought in loads of good things and it's taken a load of good things out. But that sense of self, when everyone's just taking in information, the TikTok generation that's just taking in stuff and not digesting it and seeing how it works with their tried and tested practices. Because they're not trying and testing any practices. They're just getting all the information, even about themselves, from the computer. And I think, you know, speaking of mental health, I think people's low opinion of themselves is where it should start. And when, if people got a low, one of the things that bothered me early on was this thing of like, you know, if you're feeling a little bit insecure or, you know, you want to develop more confidence, join a gym. I can't think of anything worse for a person's self-confidence than to join a gym. Maybe in your future, join a gym, but there's so much work to do before you join a fucking place full of body beautiful types, all in leotards and fucking stealing all of the fucking machinery because they're sitting there on the phone. I mean, it's a fucking hotbed for cuntish behavior. Why that would be good for you, I've no idea, apart from building muscles. Well, you can do that in the house, but the work starts in the mind before you lift anything up. And I think something like that, it would be nice if something like that was taught in schools. You know, everything that you need in your life begins in your mind. And once you focus on what it is you want and especially get rid of what it is you don't want, you can achieve it. But again, they don't want to give you that education because then you could challenge uh, the authority.
Yeah.
That's not allowed.
Yeah. So you think there's a lot of fight, a lot of us fighting this fight. You're not alone. I love how inspiring hurt people is.
Thank you.
Do you think a lot of people are still hurting inside then and hurting other people?
Yeah, yeah. Again, the work. It's really intimidating, and you know, not to put fine a point on it. It's hard work, but I tell you what's harder work: being stuck in an unhappy existence where you're not happy with yourself. That's fucking really hard work, and that's 24 hours a day. You know, the alternative is you can do a lot of practices that are half an hour long or whatever, but it improves the day or it changes the day or it gives the day at least a little bit of roulette. It could go any way instead of just, you know, deciding, oh, it's a shitty day. I'm going to give up. Yeah, yeah. The hurt people thing is the most poignant thing is you when you feel at your most alone is when you've probably got most in common with more people than you'll ever know. And that's why I make no secret of the fact that the Wild Arts community have helped me. And you know, I'm told that the songs help people and I do something to help people, but my stock answer is just like it goes both ways, man. And it really does, because when I've really needed someone, the experts and the system and the fucking all of the tried and tested weren't there. But the sufferers were there. The real experts were there. And they held my hand when it was really bad. And I'll, you know, there's been times where people have said, you know, have some pride, man. You know, stop being so open on Twitter. And I'm like, you've fucking no idea how much being open starts the conversation. And once the conversation starts and everyone's feels comfortable with the conversation, that's when the healing starts. And I think, you know, the pride thing that men have, and I see in men because of the suicide rates often being higher for men, is that pride, that reticence to actually say, I'm struggling, you know, I'm vulnerable, I need some help, which is the biggest strength a man could possibly have, because that's when working on yourself, you can help people one person at a time. You can actually do some healing in this world, you know, but just refusing, like, I'm a man and I'm made of stone, is you're helping no one, begin with yourself, obviously.
Yeah. So you said that you masked everything with alcohol and drugs. I saw you say in your podcast that you don't drink whiskey as much now and you like root beer. Do you feel better not drinking much?
of I feel better not being hungover. I like red wine. I've oh, it's not here, but I've got this book of wines, the best wines to buy in your supermarket, and it's turned into my Bible. It's the, books that have helped you. Stoicism, Buddhism, and this wine book. I like collecting wines, and I've got a wine rack for the first time in my life because I could never have a wine rack because the idea of a bottle of wine still being there in the morning was complete anathema. There's wine in the house. Why even go to bed? And now I can have two glasses of wine and enjoy dinner. And I'm so happy about that because my alcohol was never the problem. It was the solution. I wasn't dealing with the problem. And that's where a lot of people make mistakes. Not everyone, I'm not blanket anyone, but a lot of people make the mistake that, in addiction, what addiction actually is. And addiction is a basic deflection from what's really wrong. So alcohol and drugs being a solution, not a problem. People use it to numb themselves, and the thing that you're numbing, that's the thing that needs inspecting. So yeah, I woke up, I went to bed drunk and woke up hungover pretty much my whole life from being in my late teens, definitely early 20s, to very recently, till about 3 years ago. And it wasn't even hardcore, but and now I look back, it was so destructive because the only choice that I had, I thought, was get sober, join AA, become a part of a cult. And that's not the solution. But I'm not undermining AA and its effectiveness because fucking hell, I've seen it repair people's lives. I've seen it give people's life. But it's not the only game in town. There's a lot of different ways to approach your life rather than just join the church or join the fellowship. You know.
How has like has how you think about the Wild Hearts changed since you've been working on yourself and changed your life? Do you think any differently about the band or your career now?
Yeah, I think a lot differently. Now that I've got a sense of value for myself, I realize that I've always been fucking driving this truck, And I just had this, one of my fears was, I didn't deserve happiness on my own. I thought I needed a partner. I thought I needed certain band members to feel complete. And it wasn't until getting a witness I realized that that was actually what was holding me back. So spending some time by myself, being single, that was a fucking terrifying thing. Living by myself was a terrifying thing, but also doing something outside of that, the band lineup or doing it with a band lineup that the public are going to be okay with me doing. That kind of thing it was a handicap. And now that I can look back at it and think, well, I was actually fucking carrying the weight all of this time. And not saying that other people in the Wild Arts haven't helped. They've been immeasurably helpful. But it's been me that's doing the work. It's been me that if I left, there wouldn't be a band. And believe me, I did try. I tried to shoehorn Chris Catalyst into the band because I thought I was that powerless. And I realize now that the power was all mine. And I look at the Wild Arts completely different now, in as much as the Wild Arts is nothing but a community of people. It's a family. It always has been. Before we even had a lot of fans, there was people that, they were so loyal to this, whatever it was. I didn't even realize that at the time. I was fucking pissed. But over the years, seeing people help each other in this community, it means that, I'm part of something that when I was a kid, I would have, if this could have been my life, I would have, you can have fame, fortune, and all the riches that you want, or you can create something that's got a meaningful thing. And they say that sometimes a person has two deaths. They have the death of the body and when people stop saying their name. And I think the name The Wild Arts is going to be mentioned a lot long after I've gone because it has been a glue for people. We all want to just belong. We all want to connect, and being able to provide something that has helped people connect all around the world. And anywhere people go, I mean, there's an analogy that people say: if you're in on holiday or you move to a strange area, walk into a bar with a Wildhearts shirt on, and someone will talk to you. And it's this thing about there's a lot of bands that people like, but there are very few bands that are people's favorite band. And for whatever reason, the Wildhearts is their favorite band. That's fuck all to do with who's in the band. It's the fact that the music's good, the contact, the community, the thing is real and it's pure, and it's still there. It's there. The community make the Wildhearts, and that's the main difference I've seen from coming away. It's not four guys with leather jackets on.
Yeah.
Though there's nothing wrong with four guys wearing leather jackets because it's still the coolest look in the world.
I don't know, vegan leather maybe these days.
Who?
Vegan leather jacket.
Vegan leather. Here you go. It's still shiny. It still looks good.
So, final question, going back to, well, going to failure is the mother of success. Do you think in life we all have to fail before we succeed?
Absolutely. It's the meaning of life is death and growth. And I think when you live in the countryside, you'll see a lot of death and growth. So it really does compound the lesson. But the meaning of life is for things to die and to fall or to thrive. And it's that the whole meaning of this whole species is to thrive and grow beyond where we are, like plants. And I think failure is no. There's that great Chinese proverb: "Is no one remembers you falling down; they only remember you getting back up again." And I've become a real expert on getting back up again. But I think failure is essential. Failure is, again, going back to that vulnerability thing. Failure lets people know that, I fuck up as well. Fucking up is fine. Don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. And it really isn't. And like death isn't the end of the world. And changing things, losing friends is not the end of the world. Moving home, leaving a job, not the end of the world. But it's the death of something. So yeah, I think that the failure part is where the magic is because you find so much from you about yourself and put to practice the things you've been training for. You're not a good boxer until you get in the ring and box someone. You can hit a bag as like a master, but till you actually box. And that's what life is all about. You're not good at life until things go wrong. So yeah, the failure thing is fucking essential, but it's important to get back up.